Okay, class, so for chapters 30 through 40 of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, we are going to take a break from doing the typical discussion boards that you've done for most of the chapters, and we're going to look at something we're going to look at the motifs. And if you look at the definition at the top of this page that's showing a motif is a significant word, phrase, image, description, or idea that's repeated through a literary work that helps relate to the theme. So if you've read the background information and been keeping up on your reading for Huck Finn, you should have noticed by now that there are a couple of main themes. The most important one at this point is the coming-of-age story of Huckleberry Finn himself. At this point in the novel, we've seen Huck go through several changes, and he started off really believing that society was a big part of his ideas, his morals, his values, because he was so entranced with or so ensconced in society. But as the book has gone on, we've seen him struggle with his moral conscience and look at his morals and his own thoughts and beliefs and use those as a way to come up to his own ideas and opinions about slavery and racism. And so we can see that Huck is a dynamic character, someone who changes, and in the case of him, he's coming of age, or he's maturing or growing up, being able to make those decisions for himself. A secondary theme that is linked to Huck's growing up would be slavery and racism. And it's pretty obvious that slavery and racism is a big part of this book. It's written during a time that slavery was just abolished, and it's written about a time where it was still currently an issue. So as you've been reading, you've seen several times where people in the book have made some pretty pointed ideas and decisions and claims about slavery and racism. Some of them were a little more sly, but we see those very evident ones, and we also see ones that aren't so evident. Either way, it's definitely an issue. So what you're going to do is look for motifs, which are events or elements that lead to those two themes. And I'm going to give you the list of how you look for those here in just a minute. So if you look here, the directions say that there are motifs listed at the bottom of the page, which if you look down in this area, you can see they are. The first motif would be society is racism. So this is talking about society as a whole. You may look for an entire group or one person who represents society. It asks about Huck's inherent goodness. So when does Huck make a decision that shows that he is good at heart and has morals that are important to him? Jim's inherent goodness, and this is pretty evident throughout the story. Jim is actually someone who doesn't change a whole lot because he is pretty good the entire way through. We look at human cruelty or inhumanity, but not racism. So when you're looking for an example of human cruelty, you're looking for something that does not deal with the difference between black and white. There are a lot of instances of issues between black and white, but in this case I'm looking for something where that's not the issue, but someone was still mean. And then the last one would be satire of romanticism. And of course we know that this is the realism unit, and Mark Twain was a big proponent of realism and did not really like romanticism, and so oftentimes he mocks or ridicules those who get emotionally involved because to him it's ridiculous that someone would be so playful and happy-go-lucky about things when there are real issues that are happening in society at the time that he wrote this book. So the main point of this is that you're going to be looking for examples of each of these 5 motifs in chapters 30 through 40. So I'm not asking you to look back through chapters 1 through 29, but just focus on those 10 chapters. And the way that you're going to do that is, in the past I've had students just fill out a handout that this is modified from, and you would find the motif in the novel and write down the quote and give a critical analysis, which you can see is listed here in the directions. What I'm going to have you guys do, and what I've had some of my other classes do this semester, is create a poster using easily.com to show those motifs. So what you're going to do is look through chapters 30 through 40 and decide what the examples of each of these motifs is. So find an example of society's racism. You are then going to come up with a passage that represents that with the page number, and then provide a short literary analysis. Now you can see that this analysis that I provided in the example is a few sentences long, but really if you're pretty smart about it, you could do the analysis in 1 to 2 sentences and that would be perfectly acceptable. So the example that I give refers back to that article, Is Huck Finn a Racist Book? And if you look at the passage, This is from when Aunt Sally questions Huck as if anyone was harmed in the cylinder head explosion that was on the boat that Huck was traveling on. And of course, you should remember that he says, no, it killed a Negro. And she says, well, that's good because sometimes people do get hurt. So obviously that's showing society's racism. Aunt Sally is a representation of society. And she definitely has the same thoughts of most of society at that time. And so when she asks that question, we can see that it really is deeply ingrained in people's beliefs. If you look at the analysis, I provided you with the idea that this passage illustrates the power of racism in Huck's society. Huck has already decided to save Jim from slavery, despite that it means he will go to hell. So this passage is really more about Aunt Sally, not about Huck. Here, Twain shows that perfectly upstanding, even Christian people, as Aunt Sally claims to be, in society can be unknowingly racist. Her response reveals that she doesn't consider a black person to be worthy of pity or even entirely human. So this clearly points to society's racism, which is then an event that creates that theme, slavery and racism, in the novel. So if we're going to go to Easily, you're going to want to go to your internet and pull up this website, EASELLY. And there's actually a dot between the two L's. Once you go to Easily, you can register, and it is a free account. When you register, you're going to want to go through your Google Plus account. If you link it through that, then all you have to do is just sign in using your S number and password. Now, I've already created an account, so I'm going to go ahead and just log in. Oops. And I forgot to go to Google. Sorry, Google Plus. Then I'm going to log in. And you can see that Google is going to take you through that. You will have to then sign in through the application portal. And once you've signed in through the application portal, it is going to take you straight into Easily. Now here's the thing that's cool about Easily is that it offers all of these different visuals that you can choose from with templates that are already created. And you are going to choose one of the templates that you want to use. So for instance, you may choose a visual that looks like this. And as your theme loads, you can take out these words and you would put in, say, instead of breakfast and then having your examples go off, you might put in the idea that it's society's racism. And then that's going to be your main deal here. In one of the boxes, you may put your example from the book. In another box, you'll put your critical analysis. Oops, I should erase grapefruit. So your critical analysis. Obviously, you're not going to write critical analysis, but you get my drift. And then over here, you just simply put the page number, so that that can be referenced in the book. And then of course you'd go through and do that for each of the 5 that you need to do. If you need to draw extra boxes, you can change the background, you can add shapes, add text boxes, you can add objects. So all of those things can be done. This isn't the only option for a template. Your other templates are listed here. Like I said, they're already created for you, so you just choose the one you want. Another popular one is this one. It's a road that shows kind of moving along through the text, so you may choose to put your page numbers, give me your critical analysis and your passage, move on to the next page number, critical analysis and passage. But you do need to label each of the motifs that you're looking at, and you need to give me the page number, the passage, and the critical analysis. Now, in order to show you a couple that are finished, I'm going to pull up my email and show you some students who have finished this. And let's see here. So if we look down into this project, you can see here that Here's one that's completed by a student. The student has gone through, put in the label of the motif that they're looking at, the chapter and page number that it came from. Here's the passage, you can see that because it's in quotes, and then here is the analysis. They've added some visuals, as I've asked them to, and then moved on to the next one, Huck's Inherent Goodness, passage and analysis with your chapter and page number. Now these students decided to go ahead and put arrows in so that I could see which one was going to which, and again the visuals that they chose to include, which is definitely an added bonus. So that is a completed project that you can see was done by a student in the same class as you. Alright, now when that's all said and done, on Easily you are going to simply take the project here, and when you have finished it, you're going to just download the project so that it can be submitted. Okay, so once you have finished your project, you're going to go ahead and download your project as a PDF. Now you want to do it as a PDF so that it can be submitted to the Dropbox. That will be in D2L. So it's downloading here. You can see that it's now created that download. Of course, you'll save your file to whatever place that you want to save it to. In my case, I'm going to go ahead and just say Huck Finn, and for the ease of this, I'll save it to my desktop. Once I've done that, I've completed my project and it's ready to be uploaded. Because most of you know how to do the uploading to D2L, I won't explain that, but of course if you have any questions, just let me know. So this is the project that you're going to do for chapters 30 through 40. Like I said, as a difference to what we've typically been doing with the discussion boards. Alright, have fun, be creative, and if you have any questions, come see me. Thanks. Bye-bye.